A wealthy woman dressed as a cleaning staff enters the company, but no one notices who she is. Julia scrubbed the office floor vigorously, trying to ignore the disdainful looks she received from the rushing executives. At 25, she never imagined she would find herself there, wearing a gray uniform and pushing a cleaning cart down the shiny corridors of Technospace, one of the largest tech companies in the country. With a degree in administration from a public university, Julia dreamed of one day occupying one of those offices with a view of the city. However, the economic crisis and lack of opportunities led her to accept the first job that came her way, cleaning staff at Technospace. For the past 6 months, she had witnessed the frantic routine of the corporate world up close, but from a perspective no one noticed. It was as if she were invisible. Employees passed by without greeting her, as if she were part of the furniture. On the rare occasions they did notice her, it was to make a complaint or give abrupt orders. "Hey you, there's spilled coffee in the meeting room. Clean it up immediately," shouted a man in a suit without even looking at Julia. She sighed, grabbed the cleaning supplies, and headed to the indicated room. Entering, she saw that an important meeting was in progress. High-level executives were arguing animatedly around the table, completely ignoring the cleaning lady's presence. Julia began cleaning the spilled coffee spot discreetly. "As I was saying, gentlemen, our new product will revolutionize the market," said an enthusiastic middle-aged man. "With the launch scheduled for the next quarter, Technospace shares will skyrocket." Julia couldn't help but listen to the conversation while cleaning. The new product seemed really promising. She even had some ideas on how it could be improved based on what she had studied at university. But who would ever listen to a mere cleaning lady? As she finished cleaning, Julia prepared to leave the room discreetly when something unusual happened. The door opened, and an elegant woman hurriedly entered. "Sorry for being late, gentlemen," said the newcomer. The executives immediately stood up with expressions of surprise and reverence. "Mrs. White, what an honor to have you at our meeting," exclaimed one of them. Julia was stunned. That was Sophia White, the legendary CEO of Technospace, known for her business acumen. Sophia was an almost mythical figure. Very few people in the company had seen her in person. But what really surprised Julia was Sophia's reaction upon seeing her. For a fraction of a second, their eyes met, and Julia could have sworn she saw a flash of recognition in the CEO's eyes, as if they had met before. But it was impossible. How could the powerful Sophia White know a mere cleaning lady? Confused, Julia quickly left the room. In the following days, she couldn't get that brief encounter out of her mind. Something strange was happening. She could feel it. Meanwhile, the atmosphere at Technospace was becoming increasingly tense. Rumors of mass layoffs were circulating in the corridors, and the pressure for results was increasing, as were the demands on employees. One morning, while cleaning the bathrooms on the 20th floor, Julia heard raised voices from a nearby room. Curious, she approached the slightly open door. "You need to increase your team's targets, Richard," thundered a man. "That's your problem," replied the first man, whom Julia identified as Carl Morris, one of the company's most feared directors. "If you can't get more out of them, maybe you need to find another job." "Got it." Julia heard footsteps approaching and quickly hid behind a column. She saw Carl exit the room with an arrogant smile on his face, followed by a dejected Richard. Her heart ached at the young manager's desolate expression. In the following days, Julia observed the consequences of that conversation. Richard's team seemed increasingly exhausted and demotivated. She saw them arriving earlier and leaving later, with deep bags under their eyes and expressions of fatigue. One evening, while cleaning the now empty offices, Julia found a young analyst crying alone at her desk. "Is everything okay?" Julia asked hesitantly. The young woman looked up, surprised, as if only then realizing her presence. "Oh, I'm sorry." She dried her tears, embarrassed. "It's nothing, just work stress." Julia felt a wave of empathy. "Do you want to talk about it? Sometimes it helps to vent." The analyst, who introduced herself as Alexandra, ended up sharing the relentless pressure she was under, the impossible targets, the constant demands, and the fear of losing her job. "I love what I do, but I don't know if I can take it anymore," Alexandra confessed. "I'm thinking of quitting." Julia listened attentively, offering words of comfort and encouragement. By the end of the conversation, Alexandra seemed more relieved. "Thank you for listening," she said with a tired smile. "It's funny. I've worked here for 2 years, and I think this is the most genuine conversation I've had with anyone in the company." Julia smiled back, happy to have helped in some way. But inside, her heart was heavy. How many others were silently suffering there? The weeks passed, and Julia continued to observe the company's dynamics with increasingly critical eyes. She saw employees being publicly humiliated by their superiors, heard conversations about unethical maneuvers to increase profits, and witnessed cases of bullying being simply ignored by management. One day, while cleaning the top-floor corridors, an area reserved for executives, Julia heard a conversation that piqued her interest. "Did you see the CEO leave last night?" a secretary whispered to another. She was dressed very simply, nothing like her usual attire. "Yes, it seemed strange," the colleague replied. "And this morning, I saw her arriving very early, as if she had already been here for hours." "Does she sleep at the office?" Julia frowned, recalling the brief encounter she had had with Sophia White months earlier. There was something mysterious about the CEO's behavior. Days later, an unusual incident occurred. Julia was cleaning the main lobby when she saw a plainly dressed woman enter hurriedly, carrying several bags. A security guard stopped her brusquely. "Hey, where do you think you're going? The supplier entrance is in the back." The woman seemed surprised for a moment, but quickly composed herself. "Oh, I'm sorry. I'm new here and still getting familiar with the place," she replied with a polite smile. The guard looked at her suspiciously, but eventually let her pass. Julia, however, couldn't help but notice something familiar about the woman. The way she walked, the tone of her voice. Where had she seen her before? It was then that a detail caught her attention. Hanging from one of the woman's bags was a small keychain, identical to the one Julia had seen in Sophia White's bag that day in the meeting room. Julia's heart raced. Could it be possible? But why would the CEO disguise herself as a common employee? Intrigued, Julia started paying more attention. In the following days, she noticed the presence of the mysterious woman in various parts of the company, always discreet, almost invisible, just like Julia felt most of the time. One afternoon, while cleaning the employee relaxation room, Julia overheard a conversation that left her intrigued. "Have you seen the email that arrived today?" an excited employee commented. "The company is implementing a mentoring program for employees at all levels." "Really?" another replied. "That's fantastic. I've always wanted the opportunity to learn from someone with more experience." Julia frowned, curious. A mentoring program open to all employees? Did that include the cleaning and maintenance staff? Her question was answered the next day when she found a notice on the subcontracted employees' locker room bulletin board. The mentoring program was indeed open to everyone, with no exceptions. With her heart pounding, Julia filled out the application form. She didn't have much hope of being selected, but it didn't hurt to try. To her surprise, a few days later, she received an email informing her that she had been accepted into the program. Her first mentoring session was scheduled for the following week in one of the top-floor meeting rooms. Julia was nervous and excited at the same time. Who would her mentor be? What could she learn? Arriving at the designated room, Julia was surprised. Sitting at the table was the mysterious woman she suspected was the disguised CEO. "Hello, Julia," the woman said with a welcoming smile. "My name is Beatrice. I will be your mentor in this program." Julia felt a shiver. Could it really be that the CEO herself was there, willing to be her mentor? But if it really was Sophia White, why continue the disguise? Deciding to play along for now, Julia sat down and started conversing with Beatrice. To her surprise, the mentor seemed genuinely interested in her story and aspirations. "Tell me, Julia," Beatrice said kindly, "what brought you to technospace? What are your dreams and goals?" Hesitant at first, Julia gradually felt comfortable sharing her journey. She talked about her education, her dreams of building a career in the industry, and the difficulties she faced in finding a job. "You know, Beatrice," Julia said after a moment of reflection, "when I took this cleaning job, I thought it would be temporary. But months passed, and I started feeling invisible, as if people didn't see me as a human being with dreams and ambitions. But at the same time, this allowed me to see the company from a unique perspective." Beatrice listened attentively, her eyes shining with genuine interest. This is an idea that could indeed bring significant changes to the company culture. But tell me, do you think the management would accept such a radical proposal? Julia hesitated. Honestly, I don't know. They'd probably think the idea is absurd coming from a cleaning lady. But I believe if they were open-minded enough to try it, they'd see the benefits. I understand, said Beatrice thoughtfully. And what if I told you there's a way to present this directly to the CEO? Julia's heart raced. Really? But how? Beatrice smiled mysteriously. Let's just say I have some contacts. If you're willing to prepare a formal presentation of your project, I can guarantee it will reach Mrs. White's hands. Julia couldn't believe what she was hearing. It was an incredible opportunity, but also terrifying. I don't know if I'm ready for this, Beatrice. What if she hates the idea? What if they fire me for being too bold? Julia, Beatrice said firmly, you have brilliant ideas and a unique vision of the company. Don't let fear stop you from sharing them. Trust me, Mrs. White appreciates innovation and good ideas, no matter where they come from. Encouraged by her mentor's words, Julia accepted the challenge. In the following weeks, she dedicated every free moment to developing her presentation. She did research, created slides, and prepared arguments. Beatrice guided her through the entire process, offering valuable feedback and advice. Finally, the big day arrived. Julia handed her presentation to Beatrice, who promised to send it directly to the CEO. Now it's just a matter of waiting, said Beatrice with an encouraging smile. Regardless of the outcome, Julia, I want you to know that I'm very proud of you. You've shown admirable courage and initiative. The days that followed were filled with anxiety for Julia. Every time she saw an executive pass by, she wondered if they had seen her presentation. Were they laughing at her in the management offices? Or perhaps, by some miracle, they liked her idea? A week later, Julia was cleaning the main lobby when she noticed unusual commotion. Employees were running back and forth, whispering, "Have you seen the email? The CEO is going to make an announcement. They say it's something big." Julia's heart raced. Could it be? At exactly 2 p.m., all Technospace employees gathered in the main auditorium. The murmur was intense, with everyone speculating on what could be so important to require a personal announcement from the CEO. Julia positioned herself discreetly at the back of the auditorium. Her cleaning uniform made her almost invisible among the crowd of suits and office attire. A sudden silence fell over the audience as Sophia White took the stage, tall, elegant, and with a piercing gaze. The CEO had a presence that commanded immediate respect. "Good afternoon, everyone," Sophia began, her strong voice resonating in the auditorium. "I thank each of you for being here today. I have an important announcement to make, something that will fundamentally change the way we operate at Technospace." She paused dramatically, her eyes scanning the audience. For a brief moment, Julia had the impression that the CEO's gaze stopped on her, but she soon dismissed the idea as a product of her imagination. "In the past months," Sophia continued, "I've reflected a lot on our company, our values, our culture, our mission. And I've come to the conclusion that despite all our success, we still have much to improve." A murmur ran through the audience. Sophia went on, "Today, I want to announce the launch of a new program at Technospace. A program that will challenge our perceptions, break down barriers, and make us a truly inclusive and innovative company." Julia held her breath. It couldn't be possible. "And the name of the program is A Day in the Life," announced Sophia, provoking surprised exclamations from the audience. "Each month, employees from different levels and departments will exchange roles for a day. Yes, you heard that right. Our executives will experience a day in the cleaning staff's shoes, while our maintenance staff will participate in strategic meetings." The audience erupted in animated and confused comments. Julia couldn't believe what she was hearing. It was her idea. They had really accepted it. Sophia raised her hands, asking for silence. "I know this may seem radical, maybe even a little scary for some, but I firmly believe this initiative will bring immeasurable benefits to our company. It will create empathy, eliminate prejudices, and show us that every function, every individual, is equally vital to Technospace success." She paused, her gaze sweeping the audience again. "And to set an example, I will be the first to participate. Next month, I will spend an entire day working alongside our cleaning team." The audience remained silent for a moment, absorbing the information. Then, slowly, the applause began to resonate in the auditorium, gradually building into a standing ovation. Julia was in shock. Her idea had not only been accepted, but would be implemented on a large scale with the full support of the CEO. Tears of joy and pride welled up in her eyes. Sophia waited for the applause to die down before continuing. "There is one last thing I want to announce. This brilliant program was not my idea, nor that of our executive team. It came from an employee whom many of you probably have never noticed. Someone who, despite occupying a position many consider humble, has demonstrated a vision and understanding of our company that many executives would envy." Julia's heart almost stopped. She couldn't believe what she was hearing. "Julia Ross," called Sophia, her eyes meeting those of the young cleaning lady at the back of the auditorium. "Please come here." A stunned silence fell over the audience. All eyes turned to Julia, who remained paralyzed for a moment, unsure if she had heard correctly. "Come on, Julia," encouraged Sophia with a warm smile. "Don't be shy. Come share your moment of glory." With trembling legs, Julia began to walk towards the stage. The sea of employees parted as she passed, with expressions of surprise and admiration on their faces. Once on stage, Sophia extended a hand to help her up. "Ladies and gentlemen," the CEO announced, "meet the brilliant mind behind the A Day in the Life program." Julia not only conceived this innovative idea, but also had the courage to share it, challenging traditional hierarchical barriers. The audience burst into enthusiastic applause. Julia, still stunned, didn't know how to react. Sophia put an arm around her shoulders reassuringly. "Julia," the CEO said, turning towards her, "your contribution to technospace goes far beyond this program. You've shown us that great ideas can come from anywhere, that every employee has unique value to offer. And for that, I have another announcement to make." She turned back to the audience. "Starting today, Julia Ross will leave her position in the cleaning team to become our new coordinator of innovation and organizational culture, reporting directly to me." Julia felt the world spin. She couldn't believe what was happening. It was as if all her dreams were coming true at once. But how?" Julia managed to stammer, looking at Sophia with wide eyes. Sophia smiled with a mischievous glint in her eyes. "Do you remember your mentor, Beatrice?" And in that moment, everything made sense to Julia. The subtle similarities, the deep knowledge of the company, the direct access to the CEO. Beatrice and Sophia were the same person. "You, all this time," stammered Julia, still incredulous. Sophia nodded. "A few months ago, I decided I needed to see our company from a new perspective. I started disguising myself and working in different sectors, and that's how I met you, Julia. I saw in you extraordinary talent and a unique vision, and now I want you to help transform Technospace into the kind of company we've always dreamed of." Tears finally spilled from Julia's eyes. She impulsively hugged Sophia, forgetting for a moment all formalities. The CEO returned the hug affectionately, to the surprise and emotion of the audience. "Thank you," Julia whispered, her voice broken with emotion. "Thank you for believing in me." Sophia smiled, gently pulling away. "You deserve it, Julia. Now, how about saying a few words to your new colleagues?" Julia nodded, breathing deeply to calm herself. She turned to the audience, who watched her with a mix of curiosity and admiration. "Good afternoon, everyone," she began, her voice initially trembling but gaining strength as she spoke. "My name is Julia Ross, and until a few minutes ago, I was just the cleaning lady who cleaned your offices." She paused, observing the audience's reactions. She saw expressions of surprise, some of shame, others of genuine interest. In the past few months, while I went unnoticed through the corridors of Technospace, I had the unique opportunity to observe our company from a different perspective. I saw wonderful things. The dedication of employees passionate about what they do, the creativity bubbling in hallway conversations, the incredible potential we have to make a difference in the world. Julia paused again, gaining confidence with each word. "But I also saw things that need improvement. I saw wasted talent due to prejudices. I saw brilliant people stifled by a culture of fear and excessive pressure. I saw a company that, despite all its success, has not yet reached its full potential. She looked at Sophia, who nodded encouragingly. The A Day in the Life program is just the beginning. My goal in my new position will be to help create a techno space where every employee feels valued, where every voice is heard, where innovation can flourish at all levels. The audience listened in attentive silence, many nodding in agreement. I know some of you may be skeptical. After all, until today, I was just the person who cleaned your offices. But I ask you to keep an open mind. The best ideas can come from the most unexpected places, and the greatest transformations often begin with a small act of courage. Julia smiled, feeling more confident than ever. I'm eager to work with each of you, to hear your ideas, your concerns, your dreams for this company. Together, we can make TechnoSpace not only the biggest tech company in the country, but also the best place to work. She took a deep breath, preparing to conclude her speech. I want to leave you with a thought. Never underestimate the power of a single idea, of a single voice. Because sometimes, all it takes to change the world is someone brave enough to speak up and someone wise enough to listen. Thank you. The audience erupted in enthusiastic applause. Julia saw smiling faces, people standing up for a standing ovation. She felt a wave of emotion wash over her, still incredulous about the turn her life had taken. Sophia returned to the microphone, smiling broadly. Thank you, Julia, for those inspiring words. I'm sure everyone is as excited as I am to see the changes you'll bring to our company. The CEO then turned to the audience. Before concluding, I have one last announcement. As part of our new initiative to value internal talents, a promotion process will be conducted in all departments. We encourage all employees, regardless of their current position, to apply for the positions that interest them. A murmur of excitement ran through the auditorium. Sophia raised her hands, asking for silence. And to demonstrate our commitment to transparency and equal opportunities, the interviews for these promotions will be conducted by a diverse committee that will include representatives from all hierarchical levels of the company. Julia observed the audience's reactions. She saw hope in the eyes of many employees who had probably never considered the possibility of growing within the company. She also saw some executives exchanging worried looks, clearly uncomfortable with the announced changes. Sophia concluded the event with words of encouragement and optimism. As the employees began to disperse, many approached Julia to congratulate and wish her good luck. "Your ideas are incredible," said a young analyst, shaking Julia's hand enthusiastically. "I can't wait to see the changes you'll bring." "Congratulations, Julia," said a middle-aged manager, looking a bit embarrassed. "I think I owe you an apology. I never paid proper attention to the cleaning staff. You've taught us a valuable lesson today." Julia smiled, thanking everyone kindly. Her heart was overflowing with joy and gratitude. She knew the road ahead wouldn't be easy, that she would face challenges and resistance, but she was ready to face them. As the auditorium finally emptied, Sophia approached Julia. "So, how do you feel?" asked the CEO with a warm smile. Julia took a deep breath, trying to organize her thoughts. "Honestly, I'm still in shock. It's like I'm living a dream." Sophia laughed. "Believe me, that's exactly how it feels. I remember when I took the CEO position. It seemed surreal. But Julia, you deserve this. Your talent, your insight, your courage in standing up for your ideas are exactly what TechnoSpace needs now." The CEO paused, her face taking on a more serious expression. "However, I must warn you, the road ahead won't be easy. There will be resistance. Some people won't like the changes we're proposing. Are you ready to face all this?" Julia nodded, feeling a growing determination inside her. "I am, Sophia. I know it won't be easy, but I believe it's worth fighting for these changes. And with your support, I know we can make a difference." Sophia smiled, clearly satisfied with the response. "Excellent. Because I have big plans for you, Julia. Starting tomorrow, we'll begin working on the implementation of the A Day in the Life program, and I want you to lead this process." Julia's eyes widened. "Me? Led?" "Yes, you," confirmed Sophia. "No one knows this program better than you. And more importantly, you have the unique perspective of someone who has been on both sides of the equation. I know you'll make it work." Julia felt a mix of fear and excitement. It was a huge responsibility, but also an incredible opportunity. I won't let you down, Sophia. I'll give it my all. I know you will, said Sophia confidently. Now, how about we go to my office to discuss the next steps? We have a lot of work to do. As she followed Sophia out of the auditorium, Julia couldn't help but smile. Just a few hours earlier, she was a simple cleaning lady, invisible to everyone. Now, she was about to lead a transformation that could change not only technospace, but potentially the entire corporate culture of the country. Life had surprising ways of changing, and Julia couldn't wait to see what the future held.